Bombadil, Tom Bombadil, oh, by water, wood, and hill, by the reed and willow, by fire, sun, and moon, hearken now and hear us. Come, Tom Bombadil, for our need is near us. It's talking about Tom Bombadil.
It's talking about Tom Bombadil. It's was this chapter 7?
It's in the house of Tom Bombadil. That's all I know.
It's in the house of Tom Bombadil. I believe this is chapter 7.
Yeah.
Of Fellowship of the Ring. So I know this is your favorite chapter. This is what you've been waiting for the entire time.
Living the dream. It's all downhill from here.
For Frodo, it is, actually, yeah. Enjoy the last moment of peace you will ever have in this Middle Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this really is Frodo's last happy day. So, was it everything you hoped it would be? Was it everything you remembered?
Man, that means that the Frodo of the movie didn't have any happy days. They just cut this part out.
No, he was a sad sack who just stared wistfully at Sam and
never even got to make out with him.
Spoke really slow for some reason. Everybody in those movies speaks really slow.
Did they really? I haven't watched it in a long time.
If you go back and you watch it, it's like, oh, there's a couple of lines that really stand out where it's almost like they're in slow motion.
How do you go on when in your heart you begin to understand there is no going back?
Well, I mean, they don't have any place they need to be.
This task was appointed to you, Frodo of the Shire. And if you don't talk faster. I'm literally dying.
My soul is being eaten by an evil ring. I don't have much time left.
Yeah, every elf sounds like they're on Ambien. But we're not talking about elves. Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Here we are. I don't remember much of this chapter as a kid, and so it's interesting that there's actually more going on than I remembered, because I was just like, there's this weird guy who keeps singing.
It's really distracting. The songs are very distracting.
The first point in my notes says, I am convinced this is why Frank Herbert did singing in Dune.
Yeah. And you know the worst part is Tom Bombadil still better than Gurney Halleck.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. Sure. Yeah.
This is not even a competition.
Half of his lyrics are "Hey doll, Mary doll, ring a dong dillo." That's in every song. It doesn't mean anything. I don't know what Tolkien was thinking. I'm fairly certain he never touched narcotics. But yeah, that's like Tom Bombadil's catchphrase, and it's still better than Gurney Halleck.
At least Frank had the sense to stop. He eventually just stops doing songs.
Well, Tom Bombadil's not in most of the rest.
Yeah, but he'll keep singing. He's
definitely still singing.
Yeah. And the other characters will continue to sing. So, Tom Bombadil, he's just a symptom.
Are you Batman?
So we're introduced to Tom Bombadil's house and his wife, Goldberry, the River's daughter, who has a joyousness like an elf lady, but like more mortal? Is that like what is this? Is she some sort of primordial being, or like what the hell is this?
We always wonder about who is Tom Bombadil, but we never wonder who is Goldberry.
We'll get to who is Tom Bombadil in just a little bit.
Yeah, so Goldberry, I think she is some sort of river spirit. I don't know if that makes her a Maiar or maybe some kind of being on the order of Maiar, but of a much lesser degree. There's a couple of world building things that Tolkien was writing that I don't know if you could call them canon. So there's the Silmarillion, which even that is debated as canon. Most people consider it canon. I do.
But what does Brian Herbert think?
Yeah, what does Brian Herbert think? It was technically not Tolkien's final work. Like, he may well have disagreed with decisions Christopher made. Christopher Tolkien then published the entire history of Middle Earth, which is all the notes and everything. And so in early versions of the mythos, in the Book of Lost Tales 1 and 2, it follows a guy who is a human man who sails west, as far west as he can.
Oh no.
And he gets to Tol Eressëa. He doesn't get to Valinor. Tol Eressëa is an island where the elves are, and he winds up staying with the elves for a long time. And the book is built around this. It's a framing device where he hangs out with the elves, and then like every night they tell stories, and the elves tell him, of the making of the world, of the gods, of their history. And there's multiple versions of each of these tales. And in some of the tales, there are fairies, gnomes, leprechauns, elves. And in some of them, there are just spirits. And there are originally more Valar. And for a while there, I mentioned before, Tolkien was entertaining the idea that the Valar might have children. And so there could be even more gods that came into play. But he winds up throwing out a lot of this. And I think Goldberry is definitely some sort of spirit, some sort of spiritual being. I don't know if I'd say she rises quite to the level of Maiar, but other people may disagree with me about this. I'm not a PhD Tolkien scholar, but my thought is she's some kind of natural spirit, possibly on the order of the Maiar. And I think, though, there are little exceptions to all of Tolkien's rules that go throughout the world. Like, we're going to talk about the Barrow-wights in a couple of chapters.
Why would we do that?
He expressly they're definitely going
to avoid them.
Yeah, they're definitely going to avoid the Barrow-wights. But if they did happen to run into them, why are there Barrow-wights when the fate of men is known? How are the ring wraiths being stretched? Like, there's ghosts in this story, and there shouldn't be. So they're
if
like,
you
according
curse
to
them hard enough.
Well, they cursed themselves, but that's a complicated matter. We'll talk about oaths.
So you're saying I could live forever if I just do a little bit of betrayal?
If you could exist in a torturous undeath. yeah, like, if that's what you want. But no, so my point is, there are things in this world that are exceptions to the rules, and there are things in this world that are not detailed in the elves' history. Well, that's the soft magic system. Everything is not explained.
You're too busy talking about the Noldor, and we've got Goldberry over here. You're like, what's a Goldberry? I don't know.
I think all the history we have comes from the elves. Like, the gods are not writing these history books. They don't.
They should.
They're gods. They know it.
There should have been a god of history.
Yeah, there should have been.
Yeah.
I don't think there is a god of history.
I'm willing to fill the position if God's listening. If you just give me that godly magic, I'm willing to take up the burden.
Honestly, Tolkien he teaches the he treats the idea of language and lore keeping as, like, language is a technological device that is given to these beings. Communication existed long before language. Thought existed long before language, and this world, and probably obviously ours too. And so first people learn language, the elves learn language, and they learn or devise writing systems for themselves.
Yeah, it must be nice to learn language first because you were around for like thousands of years ahead of time. You're not special. We could have done that too.
I mean, we could have. But the elves sort of invent this notion of lore keeping, of writing down records.
Do men even fight against Morgoth?
Yeah, we're there.
Okay. I assume we
Yeah.
don't do very well.
A man successfully steals one of the Silmarils from Morgoth's
Oh, yeah,
crown.
Wade Watts.
No.
All right, so Goldberry, some sort of mortal elf primordial spirit thing.
I think she's more spirit. I don't think she's an elf.
And-
I don't
and-
think
and-
she's mortal.
And
at all.
Tom Bombadil is the master. He's a master. He's the master of wood and water and hill. He's also the master of forgetting he has guests. Because there's a feast on the table, and he's like, "Are we ready?" And Goldberry's like, "Yeah, but like, we've got visitors. You remember how you abandoned them in the forest last chapter? And they're just covered in dirt and mud and shit? Let's get him a bath first, Tom. What the hell's wrong
He's like,
with
oh
you?"
shit, my visitors.
Yeah,
I wondered where
right.
those ponies came from that I've been stabling. By the way, I kept track. The ponies are still good. Tom's
Yes.
taking care of them.
Yes, they're still
We still
very
got
much
5
alive.
ponies.
And so they all have a nice feast, and then Tom's like, "All right, I know you have some questions. Mostly they're what the fuck and who the fuck, but like, it's getting dark, okay? You guys gotta sleep. So why don't you guys go to sleep? The house is protected. Nothing gets in except for starlight and occasionally a little gentle breeze of air. You know, nothing bad's gonna get in. And I'll sit with you, awake, while you sleep, making no noises, just staring straight ahead."
What? Okay, they were all sitting in chairs, right?
I
In the
thought
living
they were
room.
sleeping, and he was
N-
sitting with them while they slept. And they're like, "What the fuck are you doing, Tom?
Okay,
This is
so-
weird."
No, I think you've got this a little twisted. So,
Okay.
so first he explains that there are beds for them. Alec Goldberry shows them where everything is, and then she leaves. And they sit in his living room for a time after Goldberry herself goes to bed. And the hobbits are falling asleep in the chairs. But
Okay.
Frodo and
So
Tom
Tom's
stay
not
up.
just sitting.
No, he's not sitting watching them sleep in their beds.
Okay.
They're sitting around a fireplace, and Frodo and Tom Bombadil are still awake.
See, this is peak camping. You're in a house.
Peak camping is being in somebody else's awesome house.
Yes, this is peak. And so Frodo is like, "So Tom, did you hear me out in the woods?" He's like, "Nah, I was too busy singing. I couldn't hear shit. Sorry, but I knew you would be coming that way. And it's really fortunate because I had an errand to do." He was like picking lilies for Goldberry. But he knows all about them. And seemingly later we'll find out, like the next day we'll find out, he knows about their quest. He knew where to find them. What's going on, Ben?
I assume that he had word from Gildor.
Okay, yeah, because they do mention Gildor and Farmer Maggot.
Yeah, this is where you find out that Tom Bombadil considers Farmer Maggot to be like one of the few enlightened beings in the world.
Yeah, Farmer Maggot is based. Is that what the kids these days say? Am I cool?
I don't know if the kids are still saying it. Gen Z said that, but they're not kids anymore.
Oh my god, you're right. Gen Z, they're like entering the workplace now,
Yeah.
and I hear it's embarrassing, just like how everyone said it was embarrassing when we entered the workplace.
I'm proud of them. I think they're doing all right.
So, okay, so everyone goes to sleep, and Frodo, he dreams of a large gate and a wall, and there's a plane beyond the wall and tower, Ben. The most important thing is he's hearing hooves. There's Black Riders, Ben. And then an eagle saves him? That probably won't ever happen in reality. But he's like having terror dreams about Black Riders. powers?
Yeah, so I think it's pretty obvious, and looking back, it might be the same. He's connecting to Gandalf.
Oh, okay.
I think that's pretty
I was
obviously what's
like,
happening
this
now.
this is like a weird version of Weathertop, but nope. I guess that makes sense because Gandalf right now is on a tower.
And he's escaping on an eagle.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, so I think we might have been a little wrong about the first dream. I think the first dream was probably Gandalf being imprisoned at the top of Isengard, and then this dream is Gandalf escaping.
But there was the smell of sea
That's
in that
true.
first dream.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I know that I'm fairly certain that this dream is him.
This
connecting
one
to
seems
Gandalf.
very Gandalf. Yeah, because Gandalf, an eagle, is going to swoop in and get him off that tower. And also, there are Black Riders down below. So it's part Gandalf and part Terror Dream.
I know. I think the Black Riders may have visited Saruman.
I think I read that somewhere that Saruman met one of the Black Riders and was like, "Ooh, I'm in way over my head," and he was going to go like beg forgiveness from Gandalf, and Gandalf had just escaped. So Saruman was like, "Well, shit. Guess I'm in this now. Guess I gotta double down."
Well, he would especially be like, "Shit, I'm in this now," because if Gandalf escaped on an eagle, do you know who's in charge of the eagles?
The King of Eagle.
Manwë,
Oh.
the Zeus figure of the Valar. So
And Saruman's like, well, if I get that ring, I still can't take him. Actually, he would.
I still can't take him,
fucking
but I might never.
obliterate me.
I might never have to see him again. If I could just live forever, I never have to deal with God.
There you go.
Yeah, awesome.
Foolproof plan. So Pippin is having a PTSD nightmare of a willow trying to get into the house and crush him to death. But then
Pippin
he hears
is maybe the one being in the history of life who would benefit from just a touch of PTSD. Like if Pippin could just have just a little.
Well, unfortunately, he hears Goldberry's voice reassuring him that his trauma isn't real, so he goes back to bed.
Ah, God damn it.
Yeah. You healed him a little too much.
Yeah, like maybe he should. I mean, I don't think it's PTSD to say like, okay, I did this thing before and it nearly got everyone killed, so maybe I shouldn't do it again. I think that's just learning.
Yeah? He's only 30, okay? We gotta cut him some slack.
Hey, I feel that.
Mary is dreaming of drowning, which is usually a sign that you're about to piss yourself. So, fortunately, you're in the house of Tom Bombadil, and that doesn't happen. You're not capable of dream pissing yourself. And Sam is over here sleeping like a baby. I laughed when I read that.
Yeah, no,
Sam's just sleeping like a log. Nothing bad is going on. Sam is
I
living
didn't
the
get
dream.
eaten by a tree. Sam actually didn't fall under the tree's spell at all. Sam is the only reason any of you are alive, because if it weren't for Sam, Frodo would have drowned face down in a creek.
Yeah, you're right. Sam is the one who rescues Tim.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, next day they wake up. It's Goldberry's washing day, and it's raining. So she does something in the river. It sounds like some sort of ritual or something to renew the rain or something.
It struck me as like a seasonal thing because they left in
Yeah.
autumn, right? So like maybe this is like a seasonal flooding of the river where it's gonna flood, and maybe like that's a revitalizing thing that happens where she mentions like there's new paths for the river and
Yeah.
you know, probably new soil,
some sort
and
of
sediment.
seasonal ritual type deal. So Tom, on the other hand, apparently only his boots are affected by rainwater because the rest of his body is dry when he comes in. So that's cool.
Well, he waves his arms, and Frodo notices him waving his arms randomly, and I think You're supposed to take that to mean like he cast some spell or something to dry himself.
To dry everything but his boots.
I honestly think like he just wanted to have muddy boots.
That sounds like a Tom Bombadil thing to do.
Yeah.
So it's story day, or perhaps week, as we'll find out. So Tom tells him all kinds of stories, one of which is here's what I have written down. Old Man Willow is an ancient asshole, and all trees are kind of mean-spirited jerks. So really, global warming is a good thing. Fuck trees.
Did you catch some of the language? I don't have my book in front of me,
How dare
but
you?
there is a quote that I am 99% sure they moved to Treebeard in the movies, where he
Oh?
talks about the things that go about moving around and how they're always hacking, breaking, biting, gnawing.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I think Treebeard says that. I'll pull the clip for the episode.
Well, I mean, I don't remember that for this part of the book.
Hey Shy, could you hand me my Fellowship of the Ring? I'm like deep surrounded by mic wires. I don't have a great setup.
You're locked in.
Yeah, it's a process for me to get out of this. Okay. Tom's words laid bare the hearts of the trees and their thoughts, which were often dark and strange and filled with a hatred of things that go free upon the earth, gnawing, biting, breaking, hacking, burning, destroyers and usurpers.
Sounds like orc mischief to me. They come with fire. They come with axes. Gnawing, biting, breaking, hacking, burning. Destroyers and usurpers, curse them!
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay.
I
Well,
think they give that to Treebeard.
guess what? Trees.
Tree? I am no tree.
Fuck you. Next time, don't try to eat me. I won't have to install a hedge, a big privacy hedge, to keep you out.
You don't want to be there when the Hobbit Death Squad shows up with their axes and their fire, and then leaves the broken corpses of your friends and family in front of you as a warning, lest you get any ideas that this should ever happen again.
Anyway, back to Tom Bombadil.
Yeah,
After he talks about how shitty trees are and how maybe environmentalism isn't the way to go.
that's
Talks about
not
he
what you're
he
meant to
talks
take
about
from
the-
that.
Well, that's what I did take. Talks about the Barrow Downs. They're on the edge of the forest. And it sounds like, you're going to have to correct me if I'm wrong, because he has really flowery language, as Tolkien often does. It sounds like there's an old kingdom of men long ago. Kingdoms come and go. Eventually, the kings and queens are put to rest in the Downs. And then some sort of evil from outside, sounds like maybe Ringwraiths or Sauron, just kind of like slithered in here and like raised the dead.
So we'll talk about this a little more in that chapter.
Sauron, a legit necromancer, and that was a really stupid disguise? Or
The kingdom was Arnor.
oh no,
there-
I've heard bad things about Arnor.
Of the descendants of Numenor, there was
The Noldor,
sort of
the Eldar.
no, there was a split. They split off into Gondor and Arnor.
Oh yeah, okay. How's Gondor
And
doing?
Better than
there-
Arnor.
yeah.
Arnor was attacked by the Witch King,
Yes, I knew that.
and the
It didn't go
witch.
super well for Arnold.
This is one of those rule bendy things, and I'm going to insist we talk about it on the next episode rather than this one.
So he's not a necromancer.
Well,
Although he maybe should not have like used that as his cover identity, you know?
this is. I could pull up the letter. I wasn't prepared to speak on the necromancer today, but
next episode.
Tolkien has got on record as saying that like the necromancer was just a scary sounding thing to get Gandalf away from them because he was too powerful.
Expecting Sauron to be the big bad.
No, there's another letter where he tells his publisher, he's like, actually, I have an idea for how to connect it. We'll say the necromancer was Sauron.
Done.
The publishers didn't give a shit. Like that's the thing. I don't know. Maybe we're just missing those letters, but like I don't think the publishers cared how he connected.
No.
But Tolkien agonized about it. But yeah, so he tells him you got to avoid the Barrow-wights. You don't want to deal with that.
Yeah. And it's dark outside now. At least a day, but possibly more went by. Strangely enough, no one's hungry.
Yeah, well, I think you're meant to. I think this is the flowery language. So it is a day. It is one day, and Frodo is very happy that it is raining and that the weather is terrible because he has an excuse not to go on. He doesn't want to go on. He really wants to be done with this. And like I said,
you're in the house with Tom Bombadil. It sounds like a cool ass place. Best place to camp.
And like I said, this is in many ways Frodo's last happy day. But when you talk to Tom, and the way they describe Tom's talk, it's kind of like, it's almost funny how they describe, it's like Tom is basically unveiling some of the mysteries of the universe here. He's talking, sometimes he stands up and bursts into song and dances around, sometimes he sits down, and the whole time you're just like in another plane of thought going like, he's just blowing your mind over and over and over. And that's why Frodo is like, I have no idea where I am or how long it's been, but like I know more than any mortal person before me has ever known.
And Frodo's like, who are you? And Tom's like, I'm Tom. And then he explains that he was the first. He was here before there was like rain, or
he was here when the first raindrop fell, when the first acorn fell.
He was here before the Dark Lord, who I assume was Melkor?
I believe that is Melkor, who becomes Morgoth, yep.
Yeah.
He says, don't you know my name yet? That's the only answer. Tell me, who are you alone, yourself, and nameless? But you are young, and I am old. Eldest, that's what I am. Mark my words, friends. Tom was here before the river and the trees. Tom remembers the first raindrop and the first acorn. He made paths before the big people, which is humans. And he saw little people arriving, which is hobbits. He was here before the kings and the graves and the Barrow-wights, when the elves passed westward. He's referring to the elves going to Valinor. Tom was already here before the seas were bent. He's referring to the world becoming round, I believe.
Yeah, disproving flat earth theory.
He knew the dark under the stars when it was fearless. He was there before the sun and the moon. And before the Dark Lord came from outside, which is before the gods entered into the world. Which, the reason I call that out and the reason I took the time to read it is because that is the paragraph that eliminates basically every standard explanation for what he might be. And for a long time, I thought the only thing he could be was Eru Ilúvatar himself, who would have been around before literally anything else. But there is a Tolkien letter where he says that Eru has never entered in to the world. He specifically says that. And so that shot my theory.
So he's something else.
Yes, he cannot, I wouldn't say he cannot, but there's no mention, there's a mention of the world being created and a mention of the Valar and the Maiar entering into it. And if Tom was already in the world, I just, unless he's like the very first one to show up and he's just being very dramatic about it, I think he was there when the Valar were making the world, and I don't think he is one of them. So he is not a Valar. He is not a Maiar. Tom does one other thing before he tells him about the Barrow-wights, though.
Yeah. He's like, hey, give me your ring. And Frodo just gives it to him. Which is significant because Frodo couldn't even throw it into a fire he knew would not hurt the ring at all. He just hands it over. Tom's like, puts it on. Doesn't affect him. And Frodo's like, you like switch my ring with a dummy ring? Give me that back. And he puts on the ring and he disappears. He's like, okay, cool. Also, Gandalf told me not to put this on. This is the first time I put it on. Whoopsie doodle. Is it eating my soul now? And Tom can see him with the ring and says that his hand looks fairer without it on. So it is significant then that he put the ring on.
And that also points to, that's another, he probably is not a Maiar. At the very least, he's not a Maiar because even Gandalf would be affected by the ring. He might not turn invisible, being a spiritual being already. He already exists in both worlds, but he would be affected by it. And Tom Bombadil is not affected at all. And Tom Bombadil can see Frodo. When you go invisible with the ring, that's not all that's happening. You're actually going into the spirit world.
We'll figure that out a little more when Frodo's like, I'm going to try to hide from these ring wraiths. Oh, I'm more visible than ever, actually.
Doesn't work on spirits. Yeah. It's significant that Tom can see into the spirit world. So he's not a mortal man. Obviously he's not a mortal man, but he's not just some magical... He's not a man, he's not an elf, he's not a Maiar. These are the things we can be sure of. He's Tom Bombadil.
Goldberry's back, they eat dinner, and Tom is like, all right, tomorrow, you're going to depart, go due north, keep on the green grass, avoid the Barrow Downs, all right? I'm going to repeat that again. Avoid the Barrow Downs. You don't want any of that. If you do have to pass near one, you pass on the west side. And if you need help, you're not going to need help. But let's say, you need help. Here's a song you can sing. I'll come save you. Only get it once, though. It's one-time use spell. Never gets used again. So, let me go over this one more time. All right? So, don't go near the Barrow Downs. And if you get into trouble, here's a song that will summon me. But don't get into trouble. And let's say you're on a hilltop and ring wraiths are coming for you. That'd be a good time to sing a Tom Bombadil song. That'd be good. That's your one get out of jail free card, you know? Or let's say you accidentally dug too deep and I don't know, you found a Balrog. I'm just spitballing here. And you need someone to hold it back. That's a great time to sing the Tom Bombadil song. So keep it in your back pocket for much, much later, okay? Because you don't know when you're going to need a Tom Bombadil to come and bail you out. It's like Spider-Man and Family Guy. Everybody gets one, okay?
I cannot imagine Tom Bombadil fighting the Balrog.
I can imagine him accidentally destroying the bridge by cutting it. And then forgetting it exists, and then just walking away singing.
I can imagine Tom Bombadil singing it to sleep, I guess.
And then hitting it with a stick.
Yeah, and then he just smacks it with a stick. Oh, that would be... Yeah, no, they definitely have to burn this because that would totally ruin the story. That's a DM's nightmare right now.
So, yeah, one get out of jail free card, and don't go near the Barrow Downs. I am sure that nothing bad is going to happen, and join
not
us
so
on
sure
the
that
next
I'm not going to teach you
episode.
this spell. Yeah.
Join us on the next episode. Fog on the Barrow Downs. Oh boy.
Okay. So, are you ready for the remainder of the Tom Bombadil theorizing?
Okay. Theorize that Bombadil.
There is another interesting thing. There's a little line in one of his letters. Let me see which letter this is. It is 19. Letter 19, if you're keeping track at home. He's talking to his publisher about other book ideas.
A Tom Bombadil
And
spin-off book.
Tom Bombadil
Maybe
spin-off
a
book, he
book
says,
about hunting for Smeagol. I could stretch that out.
these are his exact words. Do you think Tom Bombadil, the spirit of the vanishing Oxford and Berkshire countryside, could be made into a hero story? Or is he, as I suspect, fully enshrined in the enclosed verses? Still, I could enlarge the portrait. So I think that's important as an insight into what Tolkien might have been thinking. He refers to Tom Bombadil as the spirit of the vanishing Oxford and Berkshire countryside.
What
So
an oddly specific thing.
there's something of that idyllic, agrarian,
But
naturalistic
how could he be
quality.
that spirit if he was here before trees?
Well, maybe this part of the Shire becomes Oxford after the ages.
Yeah, but like, so would he become the spirit of Oxford?
I don't think we're meant to take that too literally. I think we're meant
Does
to
he
take
become
that.
the spirit of the countryside? Because how can you have a countryside if you're literally the first being on the planet?
There's another letter. This is letter 144. There's a couple of things he says in this. I'm going to bounce around. One of the things he says is even in a mythical age, there must be some enigmas, as there always are. Tom Bombadil is one, intentionally. So he's saying, even if he knew the history, even if he knows what Tom Bombadil is, it's important that he not
Oh,
share that.
sure. When I do that, I'm a lazy writer. But when Tolkien does it, he's a genius.
He goes on to say, Tom Bombadil is not an important person to the narrative.
Well,
I suppose
obviously.
I suppose he has some importance as a comment. I mean, I do not really write like that. He's just an invention. He first appeared in the Oxford magazine about 1933. So this is one of Tolkien's earlier characters. He conceived of Tom Bombadil before he conceived
He's
of
the
Lord of the Rings.
eldest. Yeah.
He's the
He
eldest. He's
was
literally the
here.
eldest. And he says, Tolkien goes on to say, he represents something that I feel important, though I would not be prepared to analyze the feeling precisely. I would not, however, have let him in if he did not have some kind of function. I might put it this way. The story is cast in terms of a good side and a bad side. Beauty against ruthless, ugly tyranny, or beauty against ruthless ugliness, tyranny against kingship, moderated freedom with consent against compulsion that has long lost any object save mere power, and so on. But both sides, in some degree, conservative or destructive, want a measure of control. But if you have, as it were, taken a vow of poverty, renounced control, and taken your delight in things for themselves without reference to yourself, watching, observing, and to some extent knowing, then the questions of rights and wrongs, of power and control might become utterly meaningless to you, and the means of power quite valueless. It is a natural pacifist view, which always arises in the mind when there is war.
Can you imagine taking a vow of poverty to be like, I'm only going to have this property and hundreds of acres of land? I'm only going to own this house and be the master of my domain.
Okay, to that point, Frodo asks Goldberry if all of these woods belong to Tom Bombadil, and she is horrified that he said that.
You're right. They are all to themselves.
They all belong to
So
themselves.
Tom Bombadil took a vow of poverty and owns a house.
He
So
owns
does that
a
mean
tiny
that you're
house
like
that he
far
built.
below the poverty line on this metric?
Me?
And I'm just at it because I also have a house.
I could
Actually,
own
I
a house in the
technically-
middle of a haunted forest too.
Okay, let's do it.
I mean, like he essentially owns. There's no electricity or indoor plumbing in this house, Nate. He lives in a shack in the woods.
He's a libertarian. Oh my God! Does Tom Bombadil become Ron Swanson?
Tom Bombadil is a Ron Swanson-like figure. So I just want to say, he goes on in the letter and he says, the view of Rivendell seems to be that it is excellent to have, it is an excellent thing to have represented, but there are in fact things with which it cannot cope and upon which its existence nonetheless depends. Ultimately, only the victory of the West will allow Bombadil to continue or even to survive. Nothing would be left for him in the world of Sauron.
You need a government in order to be disgusted with it, Tom.
So that's the thing. Even though Tom Bombadil has taken the vow of poverty and Tom Bombadil has abstained from power, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit. I guess I'll talk about this now. My personal view of Tom Bombadil is influenced a lot by this letter. It's I like Buddhism. I meditate. I do all that stuff.
Oh God.
Well, one of the things with that, it's similar to like what Tolkien's talking about here with like the more Christian monastic tradition, is like all things belong to themselves. Tom Bombadil is only interested in being Tom Bombadil. He's fulfilling
And
his
just
role.
like that monastic tradition, it's really great until some guys show up and start murdering, looting, and burning everything.
Yeah, that's the point Tolkien's trying to make. Is that he's reckoning with how much he values this existence and how much respect he has for people who can put aside all thoughts of power and personal gain. But
I'll put aside those thoughts of power and personal gain if you give me a house. And
you could have a house. And I mean, monks aren't homeless. They have temples, they have monasteries.
yeah, but I don't want to live with someone else. I want my own house.
I think you could have a house. I think you could be a hermit and have a house in the middle of nowhere.
And I don't want to pay taxes or mortgage either. Can we make this happen? I'll put aside those personal gain and whatever if I get that house.
Timothy McVeigh did.
There you go.
There you go. You'd be Timothy McVeigh. But no, I think honestly that's what Tom Bombadil is supposed to represent. He is a monk. He is doing the thing that I think Buddhism would say when, like, for example, when you meditate.
So does he abstain? Does he do the old abstinence?
No, you don't have to do that.
Okay, so he and Goldberry do the primordial jig.
Yes, they do.
Okay, good.
But I'm talking about this. So, like, there's different kinds of religion and different sects of Buddhism and stuff. But from my logic, there is a practice in Buddhism where you meditate, and the purpose of meditation is you sit just to sit.
Oh,
you sit
you don't sit to tell everyone on Facebook how enlightened you are?
No. And if you want enlightenment, if you're chasing enlightenment, it will never come. The enlightenment is already with you, and the true enlightenment is sitting just to sit. When you can do that,
the enlightenment,
you don't need anything
friends
else.
You made along the way.
The enlightenment is living in the moment and not needing to create a bunch of stuff, not needing to attain things anymore. Tom Bombadil doesn't need anything anymore. He doesn't desire anything. He has everything he wants, and he's done. And he has always had that. He has always just been Tom Bombadil, and that has always been perfect for him. And so I think that when people say that the real answer is Tom Bombadil, that's what that means. So, like, from a narrative perspective, from the story's perspective, that is the role Tom Bombadil is meant to play. He is meant to represent in this world of power and a conversation about life and death and eternal life and all the mistakes people make because of their fears and their insecurities. Tom Bombadil, he's moved past it.
And he's not bragging about it like a douche.
No, if you want to talk to Tom Bombadil, you talk to Tom Bombadil. He's just as happy talking to Farmer Maggot about, how his crops are coming up as he is talking about seeing literal gods descend upon the earth. They are the same size to him. Every moment is just what it should be to Tom Bombadil. And I think that's why he likes Farmer Maggot so much, because Farmer Maggot is also just happy to be Farmer Maggot. And he doesn't take shit. And they are both. The reason Tom Bombadil is master is because he is master of himself. He's not master of this domain. Sauron can't control him because he doesn't want anything.
What if he kidnapped Goldberry and threatened her? Is this how you undo the Tom Bombadil conditioning?
Tom Bombadil would probably sing a song, and Goldberry would probably wind up right back in his house.
Dr.
No, Gandalf
Yue should have thought about
Gandalf
that.
does say Sauron would eventually destroy Tom Bombadil. I don't think Tom Bombadil is powerful. It's not like one of those things where it's like, yes, the real way to get power is to say I don't want it, wink. Like, I'm going to ask Santa, I'm going to tell Santa I don't need any presents, I just want world peace, and then he'll give me all the presents because I said the good thing. It's not one of those. Like, Tom Bombadil can be destroyed.
So why wasn't he destroyed? Why didn't Morgoth get him?
Didn't know he was there. Tom Bombadil's just sitting in the woods, in the middle of the woods, in the middle of haunted woods filled with angry trees, singing songs and dancing in the rain. Nobody even noticed he was there. The elves ran into him when they were heading west, and they know about him, and they're like, you guys saw that guy, right? That's weird, right? What the hell was that? But yeah, then they just kind of moved on because they have elf stuff to do. The elves are very self-obsessed. So,
bunch of pretty boy assholes.
But there is one more theory that tries to get back into the lore, like lore-wise. What could Tom Bombadil be?
Tom Bombadil is Ungoliant turned into a man form.
Wow, that's really stupid. That's the stupidest thing you could have possibly said. No. That's as good as some of the theories I've heard. So there's a blog. I mentioned it on the last episode. Who is tombombadil.blogspot.com. This person has done more thinking about Tom Bombadil than I ever will. And they deserve all the credit.
Tolkien ever wanted you to.
Absolutely.
He was like, please stop talking about, thinking about, or asking about Tom Bombadil. You're trying to ruin the magic.
Story. It's a cute children's story I made up about a magical man who dances in the countryside. What if Tom Bombadil is the incarnated spirit of the music of the Ainur itself? The whole world was created from the joint song of all of the Ainur that Iluvatar made real. What if the song itself, that original music, took on a shape and a personality? Is that why Tom Bombadil loves singing so much? Is that why he knows the songs?
He is a music.
Is it because everything in this world is music and Tom Bombadil knows which notes to sing?
What if Tom Bombadil is the one and he can see the code in the Matrix?
I'm going to read you an excerpt from this blog just so you can understand how deep this goes. What type of spirit is Tom, since he is none of the things we have discussed earlier? The most logical way to answer this question is to look at how he acts and to look into the very essence of how he is presented to us by Tolkien. That is what this theory attempts to do. It should be noted that from the time Tom is introduced during the Old Man Willow encounter to his exit just before Bree, there are over 50 references to and or occurrences of singing, songs, music, etc. The statistical data alone is significant and shows how central music is to Tom's character.
Okay.
This goes on for pages.
All right.
He talks about how there could be other spirits in there. He deals with your anticipated objections. I know you have objections to this theory. Or like, isn't Middle Earth itself the incarnation of the music? And therefore, is there no need to speak of any other possible incarnation? While in a sense it is true that Arda is the incarnation of the music, there is also a clear distinction drawn by Tolkien between the cosmos of Arda and the music of the Ainur. In the creation account, Iluvatar teaches the Ainur the themes of music, and eventually he teaches them the great theme. But in this singing, they are shown a vision of the creation that was to come, but it was not yet created. Iluvatar said to them, "Behold your music," and he showed them a vision, giving to them sight where before there was only hearing. The Valar are given a vision of what the music will create. Sight where there was only hearing before. And again, this goes on for pages. We're not even halfway down.
Oh my God.
So I'm not going to go through all of this, but I do think that the idea, I don't think Tom Bombadil is the incarnated spirit of the Ainur. I don't know what he is.
Well, if he was the incarnated spirit of the Ainur, and you asked Tolkien that, and if it were true, he would probably like throw something. God damn it! You weren't supposed to fucking know. Stop asking and ruining the magic.
I think
That's what Tom is, Ben. He's magic.
I think this is a wonderful theory, very detailed, very douche philosophy corner.
Theory.
This is hashtag goals for every douche philosopher out there. This is a great theory with a lot of evidence, and I love that they took the time to write this. This blog has been around since 2013.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this is old. Please check it out if you're interested. It's really cool. I don't know who this person is. I don't think they ever give their name. They don't link to any other projects. They really just...
They made a web page, put tons and tons of research on it, and then dipped out of the internet for 11 years.
I love them for that. This is everything the internet should be. But no, I think the real answer is that Tom Bombadil is an entity unto himself, and that is the point.
Tom Bombadil is Tom Bombadil.
And he is the best Tom Bombadil anyone could ever be.
All right. Next episode, the hobbits are going to go due north. They're going to avoid the Barrow Downs, and they're going to make it all the way to Bree. So look forward to that. Doll, merry doll, ring-a-dong dillo. Ring-a-dong, hop along, fall all the willow. Tom Bomb, jolly Tom, Tom Bombadillo.